Welcome to Ninon Speaks. I'm your host, Ninon de Rosa, and my co-host is AJ Dean. Sit back and enjoy the show. Welcome to Ninon Speaks. I'm Ninon, your host, and of course you can see right next to me I have AJ. She's my co-host, producer, and actually she does everything. She puts the whole show together. As you all know, I never pre-interview anybody, and actually the guest we have on today, I've actually interviewed her a couple of times.
That one would take up the whole screen.
One was we're on air, Geraldine, so hang in 1 second. Let me take you over to AJ. AJ, why don't you introduce Geraldine Hughes?
Thank you so much, Ninon. You're looking absolutely beautiful as always, Ninon, and it's my pleasure. Yes, I love it. It's my great pleasure to introduce Geraldine Hughes. She is an author and singer, and she is amazing. She is the author of the book, Redemption, The Truth Behind the Michael Jackson Child Molestation Allegations. It's a fascinating and revealing book. And Geraldine is also working on the soundtrack music, as her book is going to be turned into a major motion picture. Hello, Geraldine, and welcome.
How are you doing, Geraldine? You know, it's I introduced I'm Ninon de Rosa. I introduced Geraldine some time ago on my other show, and the reason, which we're going to find out, Geraldine, the reason you wrote this book was because you were behind the scenes of the court case. Was that the first court case or the second one? I believe it was the first one.
It was the first one, the first allegation.
And you were only like 21 or 20. You were very, very young, and you had everything that went on behind the scenes and how they were trying to put all this on Michael Jackson, which wasn't true. Give us a little info on, you know, you were very young then, and you know, you were listening to everything and what's going on here. What was the story?
I came to work for an attorney, and you know, I didn't know at the time that he represented the father of the first accuser, because at the time when I started, they hadn't accused him yet. So I kind of got in place before the whole accusation started. I remember typing a document that had Michael Jackson's name in it, and I was like, I even had to go to the attorney, one of the other attorneys, and say, "Is this the Michael Jackson?" She said, "Yeah." So it was a paper that I got in when the father was trying to block Michael taking the family on tour. That was that's really what started this whole allegation. Michael was getting ready to take the family on tour, and the father felt like he was being cut out of the deal. He was trying to figure out a way to get some money, and he felt that if Michael went away with the family, then he would have no way of getting money out of Michael.
Wasn't the father trying to get $1.5 million or $2 million? Is that not?
He was trying to get $20 million to make a movie.
$20 million to make the movie?
From the very beginning.
So he was trying to ransack Michael Jackson to get the money to do the movie.
Correct, because he had his hands in a movie that was already made called Robin Hood Men in Tights. He didn't executive produce it. He gave it to his friend, Mel Gibson. He's the one that did it. Was it Mel? I think it was Mel. Don't quote me on that. But he's the one that made the movie. But the movie was the idea of his son. Jordy Chandler was the one that came up with the idea of the gay blade, you know, Robin Hood Men in Tights. And they made that movie before he ever met Michael. They hadn't met Michael at the time.
So the son, now you're talking about the son that became friendly through the family, through the mother and father, became friendly with Michael Jackson. So do you believe that the reason they got their son involved with Michael Jackson was to make up this story and to get the 20 million? Is that the story?
I don't believe it started like that. Jordy Chandler was a huge Michael Jackson fan. When Michael got burned and was at the burn center, he actually wrote a letter, you know, sent him a card that he made. So they knew that he was a huge Michael. So when they found out Michael was coming to his stepdad's auto rental wreck shop, because his car had broken down, They hurried up and got him there only just to meet. This thing started out so
Innocently,
innocent.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, very innocent.
absolutely.
Yeah, very innocent.
Absolutely.
Everything starts innocent, though, and the intentions were nothing like they suddenly became. Now, as you're going on in this case and you're watching this case, you're suddenly realizing that they are now, I don't know what word to use, but I'm going to use the word I can understand, which is they were trying to sabotage Michael Jackson.
Right. The father was really trying to just ask, the first communication the father had with Michael about money, it was, I'm making a movie. See, everybody seemed to have forgotten that element. He wanted the money initially, and he asked Michael for the money to make a movie. Michael, he was asking for $20 million. Michael said, he was accusing Michael. The only thing he was accusing Michael of was, you stolen my son's affection. He doesn't even want to spend time with me now because you're such a huge superstar. He was saying nothing about molestation at the time.
Yeah, but he was also planting. Yeah, but it sounds like he was also planting a seed.
He was not. My attorney was.
Oh.
While he was legitimately trying to get the money to make a movie,
yes.
legitimately asking Michael, saying, you stolen my son. My attorney was querying a psychologist. I typed the letter. I call it in my book, I call it third-party disclosure. He was querying the psychologist, asking him, there's a 30-year-old male, and he's spending a lot of time with he was 12 at the time, 12-year-old boy, and what do you think about that? And the psychologist answered him. And he told him, he said, I can't conclude anything, sinister about that without speaking to the boy. And so he said, that was the letter that he sent back. Now, when he determined that Michael wasn't going to give him the $20 million, because Michael said, I don't owe you anything for anything. Michael did offer some money. I think it was like $350,000. He said, I'll contribute towards this just so give you and your son a chance to work together on the movie. But when he realized that Michael wasn't going to give him the money, that letter that my attorney got from the doctor saying, it was really a letter just saying, I can't give you any advice. That was the bargaining tool that they used to go to Michael and say, either you give me the money now or we're going to go public with this.
Wow.
So
and you were behind the scenes on all this, knowing, because you were typing up the letters and
I
you
was
were
typing the letters. I was taking the responses off the fax machine. We didn't have emails back then. No. So when the doctor responded, when people were responding to my attorney, they were doing it via fax. So I'm the one that's taking the fax and giving it to the attorney.
Yeah. So you must have been quite surprised by all this, and you're now looking at it as saying, wow, are they trying to get Michael Jackson? This is like blackmail.
Yeah, I knew all along.
You were very young.
Yeah, but I've got a real spiritual side that was telling me something was wrong all along. It wasn't. Let me tell you when I really knew my inside was right. Something was telling me all along, something is wrong, something is going on. He took the child away from the mom, and the mother made them sign that he would bring them back at the end of the week. At the end of the week, they never returned Jordy back. And during that time that he had Jordy wound up in my attorney's office behind closed doors. And I said, the father wasn't even in there. And I said, I'm picking up all these, I'm seeing stuff that just didn't make sense. Yeah. Every time the father called, any other call, the attorney would take it at any desk. He had phones all over the place. But whenever Chandler would call, he'd have us put it on hold. He marched all the way back to the back where his office was. And it just looked. And he'd have
he would have like a private conversation.
It was always secret. It was always private. But the time that when I saw the news break, first of all, when he didn't return the son, the mother drug him into court on an ex-party, which meant that he had to go in next day and answer to a judge as to why are you holding my child and you won't let him go? The judge said he had to return the kid instantly. And as soon as he made that request, court order, that's when they took him to the psychiatrist. But it's something else about that hearing that everybody needs to really understand.
Okay.
If you have a suspicion that a child is being harmed and you get drugged into court before a judge on a family law issue, they said nothing to that judge about any suspicion of harm, any doubt about harm, the child being harmed. They said nothing. And so that's why the judge said, return him immediately
to his family.
Yeah, so
But what was he there for? The judge didn't know why he was there.
No, the mother had drugged him in because remember they took the custody of the boy and wouldn't return him back to the mom. So the mom is the one who had her attorneys file that hearing. It was called an ex parte hearing regarding custody of her child.
And she wanted her child back.
She wanted him back. But if there was anything, whatever their defense was, whatever they were proposing, whatever, they should have said it right then and there to that judge. Had they said it to the judge would have ordered the child to be put on hold or, to stay put until investigation. But the fact that they said nothing, they were moving according to a certain plan. And the father admitted it in that telephone conversation that was leaked to the press. He said, I'm moving according to a plan. I'm being advised and I've got the meanest attorney and he's just waiting to destroy. This is what the father was saying in a telephone conversation, but that conversation got released to the public and we all got to hear it. He said, we're moving according to a certain plan. So the ex parte, revealing it to the judge in the ex parte, the surprise ex parte, that was not part of their plan. So that's why they didn't reveal it.
Well, absolutely. So now let's move along a little bit. And what made you decide a little later, I don't know how many years, you'll let me know, that you decided to write this book and to expose everything, because you were kind of putting yourself on the line, being behind the scenes. And although you were with the attorney that was the opposite to what you were thinking and what was going on. So you're kind of getting all this knowledge, getting all this stuff together, and you're not even on the side you want to be on. So what made you want to expose all this and bring this to the forefront?
Michael's investigator, Anthony Pellicano, he was doing an amazing job at collecting all the facts. They were preparing to go to trial though. They were like ready to fight. When Michael decided to settle, and he was advised to settle, he was, he didn't do it voluntarily, but he was given the advice that, maybe we need to settle this case. And then when they did settle the case, one of the terms, Michael's team had countered this allegation with an extortion allegation.
Yes.
And one of the conditions of the settlement was that he had to drop his extortion charge, his claim for extortion. So all the information that was collected that was going to defend Michael, it went nowhere. They couldn't bring it, they couldn't continue with the extortion claim. So I knew that once he settled the case, I said to myself, this
is not right.
It's not right because they'll never know what really happened here. The extortion was the real story.
Well, was that because Michael Jackson, he was a very soft-spoken guy. He was a very kind guy. He didn't really want to make any waves. He didn't want to do anything. So he thought, okay, if I pay it out and I just give them this, he was not thinking of what people would think, like saying, oh, they're just paying him off because, maybe it's true. And it wasn't true. Whatever happened it did not happen. So that was Michael Jackson didn't realize that because he did that, it put a bad print on him.
He didn't realize it, but at the time his constitutional rights were being violated by the court. Yes. Because they allowed the father to proceed with the civil case. He was under a criminal investigation. Yeah. He was never charged criminally. He was just under the investigation. But whenever there's a criminal investigation, the civil case is supposed to be secondary because there's certain rules that the rules for civil the standards are lower than, criminal. You got to prove your stuff. Yes. So the fact that they allowed the civil case to go forward while he was still under this criminal investigation, they could bring in all kind of evidence and information civilly that they couldn't have done criminally. So that breached his constitutional right of a fair trial. And then they allowed him to have preference, meaning, it rushed to just, he was trying to block depositions that were on everything that he was trying to do that he had a right to do and he should have won on. He didn't win. All the motions that his attorneys was putting forth, they were denying him because the frenzy was going on and everybody, it was so hyped that Michael had done this. So it was really in the media's perception that Michael Jackson was a child molester. The proof wasn't there. People don't understand. In '93, Michael was not ever charged with it. He was only.
No, he wasn't.
It was only because, and the reason why he wasn't charged, they could not find enough evidence.
They didn't have the evidence on him because there was no evidence. That's why, because it didn't happen. AJ, did you want to ask Geraldine a question?
Yes, thank you so much, Ninon. Geraldine, I think that you got the support of Mrs. Catherine Jackson and Mr. Joe Jackson. Is that right? Can you share with our wonderful audience a little bit about that?
When I decided to write the book, which was probably I decided to write it like maybe 3 years after this case settled. And then it took me another year, almost 2, to now I got to figure out how to write a book. And one of the things that I wanted mainly was the picture that I used for the book cover. I was given that picture by Anthony Pellicano when I came forward. I was still working for the attorney when I talked to Michael's investigators. So he was he was very delighted. And he said, I told him my daughter was a huge fan. So he had this beautiful picture of Michael on the wall. He took it off the wall and gave it to me. Oh, wow. And so that's the picture, the book cover. This is the picture that he gave to me. And so when I decided to write the book, I just said, I know no other picture I want on my book cover but this, but I had to go through getting permission. Yeah. Well, when we put the press release out that my book was coming out in November of '03, we did not know this and they did not know this. We did not know that they were coming after Michael the second time because the prosecutor was trying to prove he did it again. Anybody know anything about a pedophile? They don't just strike once. Yeah. So he was trying to show, he really is. We were right the first time. He did it again. But I was coming to say he didn't do it the first time. So we were like, so the media was like, I was doing interviews. They were flying in from out of the country just to get my story. Different countries were. And finally, I had an interview with a lady. She came all the way from New York, from NBC, ABC. She told me she knew the family. And I said, if you know the family, will you please tell them the holdup? All I had was the picture. The book wasn't off the printing press. I said, tell them I still don't have permission to use the photo. 3 days after that interview, I get a call from Joe Jackson. My publisher did. He said, you tell Mrs. Hughes she's got permission to use the photo. So from that day forward, Joe Jackson was my biggest supporter throughout the whole time. And he showed up like a father shows up, right on time. He gave me permission. And then he said, oh, by the way, have her call me. So when I called, I'll never forget the first day I called. And he said, hold on, let me put you on speakerphone. I want my wife, Catherine, to hear you. And I was like, I just looked up in heaven. I said, God, I'm not ready for this guy.
No, you know why this all happened, Geraldine, because you actually want the right thing. You want justice as to what you saw, what you went through. And now you've got the book together. You've got the Jackson family behind you. You've got everything going for you. And now you published the book, which has probably gone extremely well. Now, I understand that you want to make a movie out of this. And I think this would be an amazing movie of the facts and how they really are, because you know them all. You know everything.
I was there.
So you were there. You know who to choose for the parts. You know who would be good to play the part. So you know everything. So you've written this book. How well has the book gone down? Has it done well?
It's gone very well. I never did really get much from my publisher. I had to wait for my publishing to the end to get my book back. And I started, you know, they get it when you go on Amazon right now, you're actually getting it from me. And I make sure every copy that I ship is autographed. And I have shipped the book. You know, Michael has certain highs and lows, and up. Like right now, we're nearing his birthday month, August. You know, my book sale, anything Michael, that's when my book sells. But you got to understand, I put the book out in 2003. My book is still selling. You know,
That's amazing. That's, you know, that's 18 years your book has been selling.
Still selling.
Now, how are you getting on? You need financial backing for the movie. How much are you looking for? What are you looking for?
Our original budget was 30 million. When COVID hit and we knew that they shut everything down, we took it down to a shoestring of 5 million. We do have a $5 million investor at the table. He hasn't funded yet, but we've signed all of our agreements. But now that the market has opened up, and we just want to make sure we make a good movie with good actors, we're looking for more investors to get closer to the 30 million, so that we can just we want an outstanding film. This movie is going to be so major because all of Michael's fans all over the world are waiting on it.
Oh, absolutely.
They're sick and tired of the lies. They're sick and tired of all the lies, the Leaving Neverland lie that they have now kicked out of court for the second or third time because of all the lies that these young men did. They said the only way we're going to stop the lies is the truth has got to be told. So the support for this movie is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be worldwide.
Absolutely. You know, I was at Neverland. I actually got to go there, and I actually met Michael there as well. And I was amazed by what it was. And it was just like somebody
Wasn't
had.
it beautiful?
It was just amazing that this was someone's backyard. I mean, because that's what it is. This is Michael Jackson's backyard, which was a zoo, and then he had these buildings where he had snakes and animals and little small. It was the most amazing thing, but it was like a dream. It was like a child's dream that he put together, and I think.
Yeah.
And then after all this happened, he just didn't want it.
Well, he didn't want it because they came in and violated his
rights.
home.
Yes.
They violated it. They came in looking for something that wasn't there. They ransacked it. They turned everything over. They took all his computer.
Yep.
And they violated his home. And I get that, you know.
Yeah. And he never felt comfortable. He just said, well, you know, and because he knew you know, it's a strange thing. He knew he was innocent, and now he's trying to prove to everybody, you know, why aren't people believing me? Why aren't people trusting me? Why is all this against me? And the sad part, it was all about money for this guy to make a movie, and that's all it was.
Yeah, so now we're not about money, but we want the money to make the movie so that we can prove his innocence, because he was just too good of a human being for people to have done what they did to him. And it's time to correct it. That's why I titled my book Redemption means to take something that has been taken out of place, put it back into its rightful place. It's time for Michael's character, his legacy, and all to be put back into place. And the only way that can happen is the truth has got to be told.
Yeah. And the truth will come up. The movie will be made. Now, who do you have in mind? I'm sure there's going to be a big audition for this one, but who do you have in mind to play Michael Jackson?
We've been getting a lot of feedback from the fans. The number one request is being for Michael had you know him very, very well, Valentino.
Oh,
now Valentino would like to play him, but see the thing is, this is when Michael was like closer to early 30s, mid 30s, and you know, Valentino Michael would be the same age now.
Yeah.
I said, I think the way that we're going to do it, he's definitely on board as far as maybe being a consultant. But the one that all the fans are saying that should really play Michael is Sergio Cortez. He's a tribute artist from Spain, I believe, but he does shows drawing 50 and 60,000 people. So I said, you know, Valentino is definitely, we need him on board.
Well, you need him because he knows all the movements.
Yes,
he actually knows everything because he did it.
Yeah,
he
and
does
he
it.
was close to Michael. He was very close to
Yes.
Michael. So he's on board, I think, more as a Michael Jackson consultant. We have 3 films that we want to tell through over the course. And the
Yes.
third one would be closer to Michael's. He'll be more closer to
So
play
he
Michael
would
in the third
play
one.
the he would play the part more.
Yes,
He
but
would
the
actually
first
play the
one
part.
was early 30s. We need a younger Michael, but he's on board as far as our Michael Jackson consultant. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then you've got to get the mother and the father, and then you've got to get
Yeah.
Janet Jackson, and you've got to get all the brothers and everybody, and I'm sure this is and I understand. So I think I want to give a shout. I don't know how much time we have left, AJ, but I don't see any time coming up. But I think what you really need is you need more money to make sure you get the people that you want, because you've got to pay them. And so you want a top actor for this. I personally think that when you put the word out there and when it starts moving along and it starts getting to where it needs to get, I truly believe you're going to get more money than you want. I truly believe that.
I really do. I really do. Well, because we have can you guys still see me?
Yes. Yeah, you just covered up. You just covered up Redemption. It's okay.
My screen went blank.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
there we go. Okay, there we go.
You're going to move back again.
I got to move back again. Okay.
There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. There you are. AJ, what would you like to ask? I know you've got a question coming up.
Yes, I just want to say we all love Michael Jackson. He is the king, and he has always been our favorite, and we love him always, and we always will.
What she says, okay. So Geraldine is she went off somewhere. I don't know what she went off for, but you know, I have to tell you something. Whatever you've done to yourself, Geraldine, you look absolutely amazing. You look so young. You've got so much energy. I love the color of your hair, and I think you're getting ready for the debut of this this movie. And I think it's going to. Yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. So back to you, AJ. What was your question?
Thank you so much, Ninon. Geraldine, did you ever get to meet Michael Jackson, or did you ever visit Neverland?
I did visit Neverland. I was at the court when he got up on top of the bus or whatever that was.
His RV.
Yeah, to support his fans. And that day he invited everybody to Neverland, and I did go. And there was such a long line of people to meet him. And I just, you know, I never felt, I've never wanted to feel like a groupie or, you know, so I said, let me let the ones that are really dying to meet him. But when we released the book and we were getting so much opposition, I reached out to his publicist, Ramon Bain, and I was reaching out for his help. And I said, I need help. I said, I'm trying to get the book out. You gave me permission to use the photo, but I think I need some help. Well, because he was under criminal investigation the second time, his message to me through his publicist was, he's under investigation. He couldn't help. But he advised me, he said, reach out to political people and reach out to stars to help. He said, now you can see if they're giving you a hard time, you can understand what I'm going through. They never wanted to seem like he was putting me up to doing this. They wanted my effort to be totally independent of him. And so, but he did, like I said, the one thing I did want, he did give it to me, the picture. And, but one of his publicists came and ordered the book to go give it to him so he could read it. And the feedback was he loved it. Every time the family had a gathering, the publicist always invited me. They were always thinking Michael was going to come. They wanted me to meet Michael. They wanted throughout my whole time. And when I finally got a chance where someone is saying, I'm getting you in there to meet him, he passed away before that meeting happened. So I didn't get a chance to meet him.
But you have gotten to meet Catherine Jackson, right?
Oh, yes. I mean, I have sat in Catherine's living room, watched TV with her. When she started the memorial, when Michael died down in Gary, Indiana, they invited me to come down because they wanted me to bring, her and Joe always wanted me to bring the book so the people would know what really happened. So I brought my book for the first time to Gary. I literally worked with Catherine for 6 years after that.
Oh, Helmet. So that must have made you feel really good because you were on a path of honesty, of telling people exactly what happened because you just happened to be there. But you were on the other side, which was so you weren't.
I was on
You
I
were
was on the enemy's camp,
you were on
but
the enemies, but then it turned out that you learned everything. You were where you were supposed to be. You know that, Geraldine.
absolutely. And Ninon, I say Michael was like an angel to the world, to the universe. And God is someone that when you truly do good and have a good soul, he don't stop us from going through the pain that we go through,
No, he
but
doesn't.
he always promises to be there and give us a witness. He gave Michael a witness before the accusers came. I was in that office.
And it's just amazing how it all happens. So you never know, when you are. It's funny because my brother just passed away, and he
Oh,
was
I'm
younger than
sorry
me.
to hear
And
that.
but you never know when the last time is you're going to see somebody or talk to them.
A
And
loved one.
I'm thinking back up when I had beautiful conversations with my brother. So my memories
Right.
of him are beautiful. And now you have beautiful memories, although you didn't meet Michael, but you have memories of something that you could actually clarify and bring the whole thing out. I mean, how do you feel about that, to be able to bring something out that was so honest and truthful?
I was an aspiring missionary at the time. I wanted to, I was aspiring to do good and
Yeah.
do some good for somebody, in this world. And for me to have been placed in that position at a time that I didn't think I was ready. I wasn't ready at the time. I was, but now I'm very ready, and I'm not afraid to tell the truth. And I'm not afraid to, I don't care if they don't believe me. I don't
Doesn't
care.
matter. It doesn't matter.
I've done my part. I've done what I believe I was there to do. And I believe God did. The one thing for Michael that God did was he gave him a witness to the truth to dispel the lie.
But don't you often think, why was it you? Why were you put on the other side? Why were you
I
working with
know.
the enemy? And then all of a sudden you were able to sort of see it. But you had the sense enough
I know,
to take in
Angel.
all what was going on and remembering it and suddenly realizing that, wait a second, this isn't right.
Yeah, well, it was because I had the inner inside, because of my
Yeah.
spirituality. That's what let me know something was not right. And wait a minute, I started taking notes in my calendar book, and that's something I never would have done. And I said something is not right, so I started making
And you started
notations,
writing notes and things that were going on and things
meanings
that were
and
said.
things I was hearing. And I said, when I look back, I know that wasn't me. I said, God sent it. God sent I don't know what he sent, but he sent somebody there to kind of protect Michael, to be able to speak the truth to the lies that we
Now,
never knew was going to happen.
did Michael know that this was all behind the scenes? Did you, because I know you never met him, but was he able to be
He didn't
told?
know. He didn't know until I think it was until the interviews started when my publicist, but they were coming after him for the second charge at that particular time. And he didn't know that was going to happen either. But it was just it wasn't coincidence that the second accusation came the same month. Our press release that we were saying he was innocent, that they were trying to say he's guilty again. So that was no coincidence. That was just,
That was all planned.
that was designed to
It
happen
was
just
all
like
just.
that.
Oh my goodness. That is
It was
just,
designed.
it amazes me what people do in this world to try to get money and destroy somebody, because you have an honorable, Michael Jackson was such an honorable person. I
He was
mean,
a beautiful. When I did go to Neverland, I can't forget them showing us the movie theater and how
yeah,
they had tables and chairs, and the tables were for the kids that were like on their deathbed, or they were so disabled that they couldn't walk. And Michael had a manager that used to see how he greeted these kids with such love. The manager would be crying, like, and he asked Mike, he said, how can you do this? And with a smile and not cry. He said, Michael looked at his manager, he said, I was created for this.
Wow. So he knew his place in life was not only singing, but it was also helping children. And and also he went through, a very different childhood, because obviously, he was on stage. I don't know how old he was, 5, 6 years old. I mean, he started out, and his education, everything was so different to most children.
Right.
And being so popular, everybody knowing him all over the world at such a young age, and handling it, and being able to handle it, and to be able to be coherent and be nice to everybody, because he never lost that.
Everybody. And he didn't even change how he was when he was under the accusation. He was still giving. He was still, his attorney, Mesereau, who defended him and won the victory. I met him after the trial. Mesereau told me he was not worried about him winning at all, because he went to Santa Barbara and sat in a local tavern with the townspeople and started asking and talking about Michael. He said those people were telling him how Michael was going into their hospitals, paying the hospital bills for their children who were sick. I just,
and nobody knew about that. Nobody knew anything about that. He kept that.
Nobody knew about that.
No,
nobody. Michael wasn't doing it for show. Now, we got some superstars that every time they do something charitable, I'm not going to mention her name, but every time they do something charitable, they got to have a camera. They got to have a documentary about it.
No.
People didn't know Michael had been doing that his whole life.
Okay, I've got to interrupt. Yeah, I've got to interrupt one time because we've got a little time left. I want to thank our audience out there. This is an amazing show. Don't forget to watch it. Geraldine Hughes has written this book. It's now going to go into a movie. One quick thing, Geraldine, how can anybody reach you or get the book?
The book is available on Amazon.com, and you're actually getting it from me. So if you want to, ask a question or whatever, have you make contact with me, then you can reach me through. Amazon allows you to communicate with the seller.
Wonderful. Okay, that's absolutely amazing. Well, we've had an incredible time getting the real truth, the understanding of a young lady, Geraldine Hughes,